Michael Zuber, and I got to tell you, I'm still licking my wounds from being so off with the job creation number in April. Huge disappointment, but what I have seen just in the last 3 hours is there is a growing number of people who are passionately pleading on one side or the other. And if you know anything about this channel, I do my best to stay in the middle, as I believe the edges are loud, but life is lived in the middle. So I thought I would talk about a couple of things today because it will potentially impact rates. And if it impacts rates, it will impact real estate. And after all, that is what this channel is about. It is about real estate investing. And the largest expense for most of us is our mortgage payment, which is tied to interest rates. Like how I got there. Anyways, if you don't know already, this morning the April job creation number has come out, and it was the largest miss in the last 28 years. So this is what I have seen, and maybe you have seen it as well. We have one side of the equation. You can think of Montana and South Carolina, for example. One sec. I apologize for that. God bless me. That's what happens when you do things live. Anyways, you have South Carolina and Montana as two states that have already done it, and there will probably be more coming that are canceling the $300 a week goose up from the federal government. Both Montana and South Carolina canceling that in late June, giving you about 6 weeks or so before that goodie is gone in those two states. You also have the U.S. Commerce coming out, Chamber of Commerce coming out and saying you need to cancel the federal goose up across the country. It is hurting businesses. On the other side of the equation, you have people coming out saying, see, I told you so. We need to spend more. We are not ready. Spend, spend, spend. What is one person to do? Well, you know what? I stand back and look at what's going on in the market, because when people yell, I kind of tune out, right? Volume doesn't help. I actually am looking at the 10-year note this morning. The 10-year note has been fascinating. So I was watching it this morning when the news broke about this disappointing job creation number. From memory, I believe the 10-year heading into this announcement, which was by all means expected to be good, if not great, was being traded at an interest rate of 1.56%. Immediately after the headline number came out, it crashed on the interest rate down to, I believe, 1.457. That may not seem like a lot, but that is a wild move in a market that is that large. However, something interesting happened. Over the next 3 or 4 hours, the 10-year note has gone from being negative, which at the headline, you're like, that makes sense. The economy's not doing great. We thought we were out of this. Gosh darn it, we're not out of this yet. So it made sense. But when it started coming back, and folks, it not only came back, but it was up for the day. That caught my attention. It went from, I think, 1.56 to 1.58. That may not seem like a lot, but it is. And the fact that the 10-year note is up on a day when we had hugely negative news that should have driven it down, those kind of days catch your attention. So I have looked into the release, and near as I can tell, there's only one variable, kind of one statement or paragraph that makes any sense to me that explains the rise in rates, not the drop, the rise in rates. And that is wages. Wages are highlighted at being up 0.7% for the month. Now, again, 0.7% in a month may not seem like a lot, but when you multiply that by 12, that's 8.4%, right? If you annualize a monthly number of 0.7, that'll catch your attention. Then you go on to the fact that restaurants and all these other service industries are truly having a hard time hiring. And as I've said in the last 2 days, rewarding employees to bring their friends, like get referral bonuses. There are businesses that are struggling to hire. So, how do I stay in the middle? One side is screaming, stop paying people to sit on the couch. One side is saying, spend, spend, spend. I actually think that the largest thing that has happened that nobody is talking about because it's not sexy, it's not headline, it doesn't allow you to scream, is I think we have a big dislocation. The last 12 months has not been a normal recession. We have essentially made it difficult for these service workers who now restaurants and all these places are begging for. They couldn't survive in the city they were in because their business, their industry was shut down. So I think what is happening is people moved back home. They moved to the suburbs. They found a cheaper place to live. And they're not coming back to New York or San Francisco or LA or these remarkably expensive places that want the nightlife, the 24 hours. They want the shift work. I think what's happening is we have a dislocation of employees. They went somewhere else. So it doesn't matter if you pay 15 or 30 or 45 bucks an hour. If the people aren't there, the people aren't there. I think the powers that be turned off the service economy 14 months ago. The people who could survive or find other employment did. The ones that didn't moved. They're just not there. Now they might be coming back. They could be teased into coming back, but it's a slow process. If you used to live in New York and you had 3 roommates in a 600 or 700 square foot place, and then you moved to back home with mom or dad in Tennessee or Ohio or North Carolina, are you really in a big rush to go back to that? Probably not, especially if you got a job somewhere else. So I think there are certainly some people who are milking the system, no question. I think our infrastructure is aged and broken and worn down, roads and bridges and tunnels and stuff like that. I think both could be right and both could be wrong. I think the real issue is we're looking for employees that just aren't there. I'm in the Silicon Valley. We have a lot of restaurants, help wanting signs everywhere. I'm thinking that people moved. They're not here anymore. It's just a huge dislocation. So that's what I'm seeing. Let me know what you think. I'd love to hear from you. Keep the tone down. I get some responses that are all caps and you're clearly on one side or the other. I will delete you if I think it's attacking or negative. But I'd love to hear from you. I actually think there's some over here, but I think what's not being talked about is you can't hire somebody if they're not there. It doesn't matter what you pay them. If they're not there, they're not there. So that's what I'm thinking about. I'm still licking my wounds from being so wrong. We will see what's going forward. I still think we're standing in the sun. I think better days are ahead. None of that has changed. The employment picture wasn't a good month. Bye, everybody. Take care.